The Beretta 1934 semi-automatic pistol is, a pretty neat advancement in firearms technology for the Italians. Their last interesting semi-automatic pistol had been the 1910 Glisenti, which had a lot of flaws in it as far as its mechanical design. But this 1934 represented a complete new departure for Italian pistol design and for Beretta, which is one of the world's oldest manufacturers of anything, and certainly the oldest gun manufacturer in the world.
Now, it's a simple blowback pistol with an open slide, and it works beautifully, and very easy to handle, and it has a light cartridge. It's basically the 380 Colt ACP, which is also known as the 9mm short, and it carried 7 rounds in a magazine, single stack magazine, but one could put 1 round in the chamber. Now, the interesting thing about the pistol is once the magazine is emptied, the slide locks back. However, when the magazine is withdrawn, the slide goes forward, unlike most pistols where the slide stays back until the next magazine is inserted.
At the time it was adopted, the Beretta Model 1934 380 ACP pistol with a 7+1 capacity was really a cutting-edge firearm. Yes, you had examples like the American military using a .45 caliber pistol, but that's a pistol that uses a locking mechanism. The interesting thing about this Italian Beretta design is that it's firing the 380 ACP cartridge through a system that's direct blowback, meaning that it does not lock when it comes into battery. And the 380 ACP cartridge is really as far as you can go with a direct blowback semi-auto pistol. Yes, you'll see ultimately examples that are in the 9x18 Makarov cartridge, but that's really hitting the threshold that you can't go beyond that. The following year, the Italians designed it to accept the 32 ACP cartridge in the expectation of overseas or foreign sales, and at that time 32 ACP was still so popular, the Italians wanted to make it in that caliber and offer it with the thought that maybe we'll get some clients from outside of Italy purchasing the pistol.
The Italians introduced a feature that is not seen on very many, if any, other pistols. The rubber grips, the hard rubber grips, had a steel back to them that was crimped around the edges because grip breakage was known to be a problem with the early hard rubber grips. So they reinforced them. The Beretta Model 1934 was in caliber 380, which the Italians called 9 corto, 9 short. A year later, they developed the same gun in caliber 32. And those two pistols got wide distribution around the world. The Italians sold quite a few of them. It was a testament to the fact that the gun was fundamentally very solid, very sound, very reliable, everything that a little pistol should be of that era.
The 1934 pistol was adopted by the Italian Army, and they're marked RE on the slide. Those for the Italian Navy are marked RM, and then those for the Italian Air Force are RA. Also on the slide is marked the date in Roman numerals of the fascist calendar, which started in 1922. So you have to calculate, counting forward actually, from 1922 in Roman numerals.
When we put up an exhibit of firearms donated to us by Horace Greeley V, entitled General Officers Pistols, Charles Yeager, Chuck Yeager, the first man to break the sound barrier in 1947, donated to the museum one of his pistols, which we thought, well, we'll put it right in there in the general officer section. And it turned out to be an engraved, gold-plated Model 34 Beretta that he had been given at some point. So it's a really nice gun and a beautiful piece, factory embellished gun that he had been given at one point, which is a very unique turn on the general officer's display.
The interesting thing is that in the aftermath of the war, this 32 ACP and 380 ACP single-action direct blowback automatic remains in production. It remains in production as Beretta begins a process of evolving that design, and when they ultimately then develop a series of newer pistols that lead eventually to the Beretta Model 92, which is adopted by the U.S. military as the M9 pistol, you really see sort of a direct line of evolution that starts with the Model 1934 and 380 and leads eventually to the 92s and the M9s that we know so well today, firing the 9mm cartridge from the locked breech position. This is not to say that in the aftermath of the Second World War, as Beretta moved on and began to innovate, that's not to say that the old Model 1934, 1935 faded immediately into obscurity, because it did not do that. The Model 1934 pistol remains in production at Beretta for almost 60 years. During that time, just over 1 million pistols are manufactured, and those pistols equip the Italian military, equip the German military. There are even versions of the Model 1934 pistol that equip the Romanian military during the Second World War. In the aftermath of the war, the Italian military continues to use it until it ultimately retires. But then it lives on in retirement as a popular commercial recreational pistol and remains in production all the way until the 1990s.